النبيين وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ولا شبيه ولا مثيل له ولا ضد ولا ند ولا جسد ولا صورة ولا أعضاء له. كان الله ولا مكان، فهو الآن على ما عليه كان. فلا تضربوا لله الأمثال ولله المثل الأعلى. تنزه ربي عن الجلوس والقعود وعن الحركة والسكون وعن الاتصال والانفصال. لا يحل فيه شيء ولا ينحل منه شيء ولا يحل هو في شيء، لأنه ليس كمثله شيء. مهما تصورت بذلك فالله لا يشبه ذلك. ومن وصف الله بمعنى من معاني البشر فقد كفر. وأشهد أن سيدنا وعظيمنا وقائدنا وقرة أعيننا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله ونبيه وصفيه وحبيبه وخليله، أرسله الله هدى ورحمة للعالمين، هاديا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه سراجا وهاجا وقمرا منيرا. اللهم صل وسلم وأعظم وأنعم وأكرم على هذا النبي الكريم كلما ذكره الذاكرون وغفل عن ذكره الغافلون. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا عظيم الجاه. I praise Allah, I glorify Him, and I thank Him for all the blessings that He gives without Him being obligated to give anything. And I ask Allah to raise the rank of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and to protect His Muslim nation. I testify that no one deserves to be worshipped except Allah, the one without a partner, the one without an equal, the one without a similar, the one who is unlike anything in the universe, and nothing in the universe is like Him. He has no father, no mother, no sister, no brother, no son, and no daughter. He exists without time and place because He is the creator of time and place. He does not reside above the throne, and He is not attributed with fatigue like the Jews say. Our Lord is glorified beyond any imperfection that the non-Muslims attribute to Him. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah Ta'ala does not resemble that. And whoever attributes an attribute of the creations to Allah is outside of Islam. And I testify that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the son of Abdullah, the son of Abdul Muttalib, the son of Hashim, the son of Abdul Manaf, from the tribe of Quraysh, is the best creation of Allah and His final prophet and messenger sent to all humans and jinn, and He is truthful about everything that He conveyed of the revelation. Thereafter, we remind ourselves to have the sincere intention for the sake of Allah in attending the session of Islamic knowledge, because having the sincere intention is a requirement to get the reward. So the Muslim, whenever he does a good deed, he has to have the sincere intention for the sake of Allah to get reward for that good deed. The reward is defined as the compensation that the Muslim receives in the hereafter for the good deeds that he did in this life among what makes him happy. An example of the reward that is guaranteed to the righteous Muslim in the grave is that his grave is expanded approximately 105 feet by 105 feet, and his grave is illuminated with a light similar to the light of the full moon, and the fragrance of paradise would be present in the grave. The sincere intention means for the Muslim to do the good deed seeking the acceptance of Allah only and not the praise of the people. So alhamdulillah, we are grateful to Allah that He has guided us to Islam and that He has chosen us to be among the best of nations, to be a member of the best of the nations, which is a Sunni Muslim, a follower of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, because He is the greatest creation and He is the best of all the prophets and the messengers, and so His nation is the best of all the nations that have been sent forth to the people. So we are grateful to Allah that we are Sunni Muslims, that we have been guided by Allah Ta'ala to accept al-Islam and to believe in al-Islam. And we are also grateful to Allah Ta'ala that He has given us access to the authentic and connected chains of the knowledge of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah through this great Shaykh of ours, Shaykh Abdullah ibn Muhammad al-Harari. And so in light of that, and because of that, the book that I have chosen is a book that is a collection of his lessons that he gave to the people over the years. And mashallah, it's been compiled into a 3-volume book. So this is volume 1. And hopefully, inshallah, later or after today, we can have some of these copies available here in the Musalla. This is a book full of beneficial lessons and details on different subjects in the creed, about the history, about the rules of Islam. So inshallah, we'll read each one of those volumes one by one, starting with volume 1. So the name of this book is called Collections of Goodness from the Sessions of Shaykh Abdullah, the son of Muhammad, the son of Yusuf al-Harari. May the vast mercy of Allah be upon him. So we're going to start with the introduction. If anyone has a copy, they can read along. If not, then when we get the copies, you can get one and follow along. The introduction. All praise is due to Allah. He created the human and taught him the bayan. The bayan, and it means to clarify, it means to explain, it means to give evidence, to prove something. And so Allah Ta'ala, He created the human and gave human the knowledge to clarify, to deduce, to use their mind, and to prove things to others. And He sent His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with the guidance and the book of Allah, yani the Quran. May Allah Ta'ala raise the rank of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the teacher Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the son of Abdullah al-Qurashi al-Hashimi. Al-Qurashi referring to the tribe that he's from. And the Arabic genealogy, that in order to be considered that you are an Arab, it's not like how today, where people, if they're born like in a country where they speak Arabic, they call them Arab. Like if you're born in Lebanon, they call you Arab. If you're born in Syria, they determine is Arab or not. The way that you determine that is through to an Arab tribe or not. If the answer is yes, they're Arab. If the answer is no, then they're not Arab. So people think that people born like in Lebanon and Syria and Jordan are Turks of Turkish descent. They don't have Arab blood. But so the best Arabic tribe, the best Arab tribe is the tribe of Quraysh, which is the tribe that the Prophet ﷺ is from. And Al-Hashimi is referring to the clan, one of the clans of that tribe, meaning that he is from the tribe of Quraysh through Hashim, through that ancestor. The one who said in what At-Tirmidhi and others narrated, the Prophet ﷺ, he said this hadith: "Man salaka tariqan yatlubu fihi ilma, sahhala Allahu lahu bihi tariqan ila al-jannah." Allahu Akbar. ما أعظم هذه الفائدة. من سلك طريقا يطلب فيه علما، يعني علم الدين، سهل الله له به طريقا إلى الجنة. يكون طريقه إلى الجنة يسهل له الوصول إلى الجنة. Whoever follows a path seeking religious knowledge, Allah facilitates for him a path to paradise. What a great blessing, what a great honor to have your path to paradise be facilitated. Meaning that it'll be easy for you to reach it. So this is a good sign for the one who learns the knowledge of Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah, and the one who dedicates his life to the knowledge of Ahlus Sunnah. Allah Ta'ala facilitates his path to paradise. Because the best thing that you can do with your time is dedicate yourself to the knowledge, either by learning it, memorizing it, teaching it, reviewing it, studying it, supporting it. This is the best thing that you can do with your time. Better than anything else. Better than being a doctor. Better than being an engineer. Better than being a lawyer. Better than being a CEO. Better than being an entrepreneur. Better than being a soccer player. Better than being a singer. Better than being an actor. Better than being a millionaire. Better than being a billionaire. Is to dedicate your life to the knowledge of Islam. And may Allah accept the deeds of the righteous companions, the Muslim family of the Prophet ﷺ, and whoever follows them in goodness. Those who convey to us the religion and work hard to spread it with swords and teachings. Yes, that's something that we don't shy away from as Muslims. We don't shy away from that fact because just like every parent knows, sometimes you have to discipline your children. Do you let your child, let's say, put themselves in harm's way? No, sometimes you use physical force to stop your child from hurting themselves. And what is the biggest harmful thing? Is blasphemy, disbelief, not having the correct belief. So if you have to physically stop someone from committing blasphemy, from harming themselves in that way, then of course this is for their own benefit, for their own good. Thereafter, among the important matters is spreading the obligatory knowledge among the laymen and teaching them what God made obligatory upon every accountable Muslim to learn of the knowledge of the religion. And the most important thing, the best obligation is to be Muslim and to believe in Allah correctly and to follow and to believe in the Prophet ﷺ. And then you do the other obligations. By doing that, the person can achieve piety. But without the knowledge, the person can never be pious. He can never fulfill all the obligations, and he can never refrain from all the sins. So what does that mean? That means that in order for the person to fulfill all the obligations and refrain from all the sins, he has to learn. And so the knowledge that he needs to become pious, that's the most important knowledge. Because that way you give that each individual person the ability to be a pious Muslim, to obey Allah Ta'ala and to avoid the prohibition. And that's for his own good, and that's for the good of the community, and that's for the good of the whole world. So one of the best things you can do is teach people that knowledge, because then they can become pious. Most of the people who affiliate themselves with the knowledge have neglected fulfilling this emphasized obligation, and they have been satisfied with teaching the revealed laws to just a certain group among those who go back and forth to them. That's the reality right now, people. So not only do we have the deviant groups and the people that claim Islam, but they teach blasphemy. And we have those that they are perceived as Ahlus Sunnah Imams. People that you look at them, they celebrate the Mawlid. You look at them and they do Tawassul. You look at them, they do Tabarruk. Right? They're not Wahhabis. They're not Ikhwanjis. They're not Mu'tazilis. They celebrate the Mawlid. They believe in Tabarruk. They believe in Tawassul. They have the Sunni title, but they're falling short. Why are they falling short? Because even though they have some of the knowledge of Ahlus Sunnah, of the Ash'aris and the Maturidis, do they spend their time, do they use their fame and their platform to teach that knowledge? They have millions of followers all over the world, like some people in Yemen, who we're not going to name right now, but very famous. Thousands of followers. They have students. When they're walking down the street, there's a crowd of people walking with them. They have servants. These people, they say something, their students take their word right away. Are these people teaching obligatory knowledge? No, they're not. Are they spending their time correcting the creed of the people? No, they're not. They're falling short. And instead, for example, they might teach what we call the obligatory knowledge to a certain group of people, certain students that come to them, instead of teaching it to the people. Instead, what do they teach to the people? Stories that they touch the heart and that they're emotional, and they tell you some dhikr to say, but they don't teach the person about the creed. They don't warn against blasphemy. So this void caught the attention of our Shaykh, the Imam, scholar of hadith, scholar of knowledge of the fundamentals, yani usul al-fiqh, scholar of the knowledge of the creed, yani usul al-din, Abdullah, the son of Muhammad, the son of Yusuf, the Qurashi, yani the black man from Ethiopia who was actually an Arab. The black man from Ethiopia who was actually an Arab, and he traces his lineage back to the best Arabic tribe. Whereas the people, for example, that a lot of them that are living in the country where he settled in, they think that they're Arabs, but they're not even Arabs, because their lineage is Turkish or whatever, something else. They don't go back to an Arabic tribe. Subhanallah, the way that it is. So he is a Qurashi. Our Shaykh is a Qurashi. The Abdari. So his clan is from the tribe of Abdiddar. And the Shaybi also, another clan, famously known as Al-Harwari, because that's where he was born. He was born in a city in modern-day Ethiopia that still exists. It's called Harar. That city is one of the UNESCO, I forget what they call it, historical, international, World Heritage, living museum sites. There's different places in the world that this organization called UNESCO, they classify it as a World Heritage Site, which means that it's a place that has a long history, that it's still preserved like the way that it used to be, like the original walls are still there, people are still living there, how they lived there for thousands of years. So that city, Harar, which is in Ethiopia, modern day Ethiopia, is still there. They call it the Living Museum. And the original city, which is like a city with a wall, is still there. And the Shaykh, rahimahullah, his house, or the place where he lived, is still there. And the people that have been living there, they're still there. They still follow the same culture, mashallah can. So one special thing about Harar is that in the past, and not so much today because of the corruption of secularism and the spread of atheism and Muslims being distanced from the knowledge and wanting to be more like the West. Not growing out their beard, not growing out their hair, not wearing thobes, not wearing qalansuas. And because of all of that distancing away from the sunnah and the culture of Islam, it's not the same as it used to be in the past. But in the past, right, there's 99 mosques inside of that walled city. And it was the culture, and it's going to come, the culture back then was you revolved your life around learning. And so they had a big culture of learning. One day we'll talk about Harar more in depth. But if you go there, mashallah, if you've ever been there, it has an impact on the heart. You see how there's so many awliya that came from there. Allahu Akbar. Now the lifestyle there is fitted for you to become a wali. And you can easily become a wali there. MashaAllah can. So that's where our Shaykh was from. May God have mercy upon him. So he noticed that the people of supposedly knowledge, the people that supposedly have knowledge, they're not doing their duty. They are not doing what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to go out there, teach the people. There's people that they didn't know how to make wudu, people that didn't know how to pray, people that don't know the basics of the creed, people that think that Allah is living inside of the Kaaba, very ignorant things. And he's surrounded by this. and he has the knowledge. So what is he going to do? Is he just going to have special lessons with the people who are educated in Islam, so he can teach them Al-Bukhari and Muslim and narrate for them the books of Hadith, while the general public, the general Muslim public, they're not even they're ignorant to the extent that they fall out of Islam and they don't even know it. That's a sad situation, that's a tough situation, and we have a duty, and we have to teach the people. So our Shaykh, rahimahullah, that void caught his eye. So he directed his all, trying to fill the void, putting forth effort until his death in spreading the personal obligatory knowledge of the creed and the branches of fiqh and jurisprudence among the people, young and old, male and female, in an eloquent, clear, easy language, and with a captivating style that does not distract the person's heart from the main point, and he did not overburden the mind with mentioning many different things. Yani, if you ever heard a lesson from our Shaykh, rahimahullah, you would be so like following everything that he's saying. You won't get lost, and everything that he's saying is like easy to understand. It enters your heart, and it impacts you, and you get the benefit. And he stays on topic. He stays focused. He doesn't overburden the mind with mentioning many different things. Like, for example, when somebody is talking and then they're saying one thing, they're following one train of thought, and then they switch over to another thing, and then they talk about, and then they don't even finish that, and then they start with something else, and then they go back to that original thing that they were talking about before, and then they finish that. And so the person, their mind becomes distracted. But our Shaykh, rahimahullah, when he gave a class, he stayed focused on one topic. It was organized. The listener, it was a pleasure to listen to him, to listen to his classes. And anyone who's heard our Shaykh, who's taking knowledge directly from our Shaykh, can testify to that fact. When you're listening to his classes, it's very pleasurable to listen to his classes. May God raise his rank. He did that without making it too long and not too short, while certifying these lessons and mentioning the types of details that usually one needs to travel to get. Allahu Akbar. And that is a fact. Subhanallah, we're not. So I'm not going to pretend that like I was one of his students, because for sure that's not the case. I wasn't like one of his direct students, but alhamdulillah, definitely for sure, I know this for a fact. تحدثا بنعمة الله, it is a blessing from Allah Ta'ala that He enabled me to sit in His session. So at least and multiple times, more than 10 times, I was able to sit in His session, sometimes in the general public session, and I was blessed with the ability to sit in some of His closed sessions, where it's not like open to the general public, it's only open to certain people. And alhamdulillah, I got to listen to some things directly. But of course that was like when I was just learning Arabic, so obviously I didn't get to benefit as much as I would have if I had been fluent, but still, you benefit from the information. These lessons that he gave in the mosques were a relief for the eyes, a pleasure to the ears, a value for the heart, and many people benefited from that. Many people, mashallah, can. Thousands and thousands of people, if not a million people. He followed the habit of the Salaf and the Khalaf. In his personal character, he followed the habit of the Salaf and the Khalaf. The Salaf is known, the first 300 years from the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Khalaf is the next 300 years after that. He implemented the Sunnah. Ibn Abbas used to teach the people the essentials of the creed during the month of Ramadan every year when he was the governor of Al-Basra. So Ibn Abbas used to have dawras. Ibn Abbas, the companion, the great companion, Tarjuman al-Quran, used to have dawras, used to have seminars, used to have sessions where he would teach the essentials of the knowledge during the month of Ramadan. And he was the governor of that area, which is in present-day Iraq. It was the habit in the city of Harar, the land of our Shaykh, may God have mercy upon him, and the place of knowledge at that time in the lands of Somalia and Ethiopia, for the farmer to come from work to his home, clean himself, and then go to the mosque and listen to the lessons of knowledge every day. Allahu Akbar. Imagine that was your day. Instead of your day being getting on the internet, getting on Instagram, getting on TikTok, getting on whatever other internet thing, getting on the video game. Instead of doing that, you spend your day getting your sustenance. Then when you're done with that, you go home, you wash up, then you go to the masjid. You pray Maghrib in congregation. And then you listen to the lesson from Maghrib to Al-Isha every single day. Imagine if you did that every single day. And it was a scholar teaching you. Imagine how much knowledge you would get after 10 years. If for 10 years, every single day, you took a lesson between Maghrib and Isha, how knowledgeable would you be in 10 years? Allahu Akbar. In Harar, during that time, there were 99 mosques with a scholar teaching in every one between the Maghrib and the Isha prayer. And when we say a scholar, we're not talking about these modern definitions where people, if they go supposedly study for 4 years, or even nowadays I've heard that there's shorter programs that they call them Maulana programs, where you study for like, I don't know, 100 hours, and you get a certificate, and now so all of a sudden you're a Maulana. They have these things now. And now supposedly that person is a scholar. But we're talking about real scholars that are defined as scholars by Islam. In Harar, in the past, there were 99 mosques within the walled city, and there was a scholar teaching in every one of those mosques between Maghrib and Isha. Allahu Akbar. Thus, the farmer used to adhere to that way for years until he himself became a scholar. If you spend your life every day between Maghrib and Isha learning from a scholar, then after 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, you'll become a scholar yourself. Allahu Akbar. Based on what we have mentioned, we are pleased to compile in this book lessons that our Shaykh gave in different mosques and at different times, so that there would be in the possession of the teacher a reference when teaching the general public, and it will help him to become steadfast, to have extra certainty, and to be at the same time a proof for generations about the methodology of that guiding scholar. May God have mercy upon him. We made sure to mention at the beginning of each lesson its subject, the place where it was given, the time it was given in, if it was known to us, and we convey it just as those who heard it have documented it without relying on audio recordings in that. Big highlight. So the people that put this book together, they put this book together based on what they heard and what they wrote down with their own hand. And they got together and they compared what they had, and they didn't rely on the audio recordings. And then they tell you why right here. Since perhaps there was a slip of the tongue. Slip of the tongue, because anyone who's not a prophet can have a slip of the tongue. Anyone who is not a Nabi can have a slip of the tongue. Even if they're a righteous, pious Muslim, they perform karamat, even they have a high status to Allah, but since they're not a Nabi, since they're not a prophet, they're not masoom from that type of mistake. So they could say a slip of the tongue. The scholar could have a slip of the tongue because he's not a prophet. The prophets don't have a slip of the tongue, never have a slip of the tongue. The prophets never lie, and they never have a slip of the tongue, and the prophets never make a mistake in conveying the revelation. They never make a mistake in the religion. Since perhaps there was a slip of the tongue or an expression that gives a different impression. Yani something that the word that was used, it gives a different impression, but afterwards the listeners double checked with the Shaykh and made the appropriate correction. The appropriate correction. And so it would have been changed on the papers, but not on the recordings. Allahu Akbar. You see how this is called integrity. This is called the integrity of the knowledge. What does that mean? That means that we don't claim that our Shaykh is ma'soom or preserved or protected from those types of mistakes, a slip of the tongue, using, let's say, a phrasing or wording that maybe the people did not understand properly. We don't deny this because he's not a prophet. We don't say that about our Shaykh, and we know that he's not a prophet. So it's possible that there was a slip of the tongue. It's possible that there was phrasing that was used that wasn't immediately understood by the audience. And so afterwards, his students, his main students around him would go to him and say, you said this and this and this, and etc., what's the case? And then the Shaykh would correct it or clarify it or change whatever needed to be changed. And so those main students would change it in their notebooks. But guess what? The audio recording, who recorded it, they left after the lesson was over. They left and they went, and whoever recorded it else, did they go back to that spot and change it and edit it? And we're talking about recording with cassettes. And anybody who's had experience with cassettes, how do you edit a recording with a cassette? You have to go back, you have to take it, you have to rewind it, you have to put it in the tape deck, you have to see the part that you want to edit. If you want to edit it, if you just want to put a silence, you have to go to that spot, press record with silence, and then that part gets deleted out. So it's not like a convenient thing like now, where you have an audio file and you go to the whatever and you erase something, you change something, you record on top of it. So some of the, let's say a slip of the tongue, was not changed on the recording, but it was changed in the original, and in what the students wrote down. They changed it. And that, subhanAllah, is very important to keep in mind. We did not include the differences between the manuscripts because they do not affect the meaning, and what is conveyed has a correct meaning. And if, for example, the Shaykh used one specific word, but the main students, not all of them wrote down that specific word, but the words that the others wrote down mean the same exact thing. So it's the same, whether they use that same exact word or not. We have added to these lessons a few lessons from the Shaykh and martyr by the will of God, Nizar, the son of Rashid al-Halabi, who was the most prominent student of our Shaykh al-Harari. May God have mercy upon him. He followed the same path in terms of delivering the benefit to the layman correctly and clearly with an easy style. And of course, alhamdulillah, I can testify to that. Listening to some of his classes, I did not get the blessing of being able to meet him in person because he passed away before I even knew what Islam was. But I have listened to his classes and to his speeches, and he has a very distinct style. Like in Arabic, he says every single inflection, and he goes at a pace that is very, I won't say slow, but he goes at a very calm pace. And he enunciates every single word. And the one who's listening to him is hanging on to every single word. So he followed the Shaykh, rahimahullah, in that style. So now we're on page 13. We finished the introduction. We're on page 13 now. Lesson 1, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This lesson is titled The Obligatory Knowledge of Al-Islam. This lesson was given by the Muhaddith, the scholar of Islamic jurisprudence, Shaykh Abdullah, the son of Muhammad al-Abdari. May Allah the Exalted have mercy upon him. The lesson is about learning the obligatory knowledge of Al-Islam. The lesson was heard from Shaykh Abdullah by Shaykh Nabil, the son of Muhammad al-Sharif, Shaykh Jamil, the son of Muhammad Halim, Shaykh Muhammad, the son of Mustafa al-Bakri. And you guys have met, most of you guys have met these Shaykhs, Shaykh Nabil and Shaykh Muhammad al-Bakri, and Shaykh Samir, the son of Sami al-Qadi. May God bless them, protect them, have mercy upon them, and benefit us from their blessings. Ameen. So these students, you're going to see that their names are named in many of these classes because these were mainly the direct students of the Shaykh. They were there for his lessons, they heard his classes, they wrote down every single word that he said. And when the Shaykh, rahimahullah, used to give a class, he would tell one of his students that were writing everything down to stand up and to read what they wrote. So the lesson would be repeated again. And for Shaykh Nabil, rahimahullah, or hafidhahullah, he was here in this musalla, he gave a class. And also Shaykh Muhammad al-Bakri. he gave a class here as well, recently. Shaykh Abdullah, may Allah have vast mercy upon him, said, all praise is due to Allah. To him belong the endowments and proper commendations. May Allah raise the rank of our Master Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his Muslim relatives and protect his nation from that which the Prophet fears for it sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Therefore, thereafter, indeed, God revealed in his glorious book in Surah Al-Tahrim, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara وَقُودُهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةُ. This verse means, O you who believed, protect yourselves and your wives and children from hellfire, which is fueled by people and stones. This verse orders the Muslims to protect themselves and their wives and children from the fire of hell. The verse was explained by Ali, the son of Abu Talib, may God raise his rank. He said, teach yourselves and your wives and children the goodness, that is, the knowledge of Islam. As for Ata, may God raise his rank, he said, to learn how to pray, how to fast, and how to perform the Hajj pilgrimage, how to buy and sell, how to conduct a marriage, and how to divorce. The understood meaning of Ali's explanation and Ata, the son of Abu Rabah's explanation of the honorable verse is that if the Muslim, he himself learns and he teaches his family the matters of Islam, he has certainly protected himself and his family from the fire of hell, that fire which is fueled by people and stones. So this verse contains a threat of punishment for the one who neglects what is incumbent upon him to learn from the obligatory knowledge of Islam, which is incumbent upon every accountable person. Hence, it is an obligation upon the person to know the proper belief, to know the correct deeds of the heart, the correct deeds of the organs, like purification, prayer, fasting, zakah, hajj, pilgrimage, and to know what is lawful and what is unlawful of buying and selling, and to know what is lawful of marriage and what is unlawful, and what is valid of divorce and what is not valid. Therefore, the one who engages in these matters while leaving out learning the knowledge, neglects it, while there is someone available to teach, has put himself at risk of going to hellfire, the immense fire. Allahu Akbar. Why have they put themselves at risk? Because they didn't learn. They didn't learn how to pray, they didn't learn how to fast, they didn't learn how to pay zakah, they didn't learn how to get married, they didn't learn how to buy, they didn't learn how to sell. So they're living their life in ignorance. And we're talking about people that claim to be Muslim. You can't live ignorantly as a Muslim, because how are you going to know that your prayer is valid? You can't come on Judgment Day and say, oh Allah, I had a sincere intention. How do you know what a sincere intention is if you're ignorant, if you don't even know? How do you know that, for example, that you paid zakah correctly if you never learned? How do you know that you fasted Ramadan correctly when you didn't learn? This is Islam. It's not like a video game. Even in the video game, can you play the video game without knowing? Try to get an adult to play Xbox and see what's going to happen to them. They won't know what to do with it. But give them an Atari, they'll be an expert. Give them a Nintendo, they'll know what to do. Give them a PlayStation, and they're not gonna do what to do with the remote. And give one of these kids that are 7, 8, 9, 10, give them a PlayStation remote control, and you'll see a genius. Subhanallah. So with ignorance, you can't even play a video game. So how about when it comes to your deen? When it comes to your deen, when it comes to your soul, when it comes to your hereafter, paradise or hellfire, you can't take that lightly. You can't throw caution to the wind and hope that I'll make it. That's not what the people do with the dunya. When you're paying thousands of dollars for a college education, you say, I hope I graduate. Whatever. If it happens, it happens. If it goes, it goes. No. In business, right? In your business, You say, I'm gonna make this business decision. If it goes, it goes. If it makes me money, it makes me money. I'll throw 100K at it, whatever. Nobody does that. Anybody who does that is a fool. Is considered a fool. So how about the one that does that with his soul, with his akhirah? For sure he is a fool. Ignorance is not an excuse. And to the extent that, the author said, so if the person does not find in his town someone to teach him these obligatory matters, and he knows that in such and such a land there is someone who knows the matters of the religion, then it is not permissible for him to remain in his location. And it's haram if you don't know the obligatory knowledge, and there's no one in your town to teach you, and no one there knows it either, it's haram for you to stay living there. That means you have to pack your bags and go to somewhere else where you can have access to that knowledge. It is not permissible for him to remain in his location and be content with his ignorance about the matters of the religion. Rather, it is an obligation upon him to travel. For worldly knowledge, many people travel to seek it, and they spend large amounts of money to learn it, and their end goal might be to have the finest things of this fleeting life. Subhanallah. When I read that, I was like, really? That's really what people do? That's really what they do? They leave their hometown, their home country, whatever, their village, where there's a mosque, where you hear the adhan 5 times a day, where you pray in congregation, where there's awliya buried, where you can memorize Quran, where you can become a wali, where you can live a pious life, where you can have the culture of Ramadan in the streets, etc. And you leave that environment to come to America, the land of devils and perils, the land of alcohol and fornication, the land of interest, the land of evil things and sins. Because for what? To go to the university to get a degree? For what? So that you can get a degree so you can become a doctor and a lawyer. For what? So you can save the world? Or so you can buy a $500,000 house? So you can save the world? Or so you can drive a Mercedes? So you can save the world? Or so you can fill your belly up with tasty food every day? Is that the reason why you left the Muslim lands, where there's the masjid and there's the adhan and there's the awliya, so you can come to America? Is that what you came for? So that you can, what did the Shaykh say? This is what the Shaykh said. The finest things of this fleeting life. Let's read some of the Arabic, so that we can be more loyal to the text. أما علوم الدنيا. Oh no, wait, that's علوم الدنيا الناس يرحلون إليها ويتكلفون أموالا عظيمة في سبيل تعلمها وتحصيلها، مع أن الغاية منها بحبوحة العيش في الدنيا الزائلة. الله أكبر. I recommend every single person to become fluent in the Arabic language, so that you can have that blessing of hearing those words and knowing what they mean and having that impact on your heart. ما الغاية من ذلك من ترك تلك البلاد التي فيها المساجد والأولياء والبركات والحسنات والمسلمون لأجل إيش؟ بحبوحة العيش في الدنيا الزائلة. Oof. Subhanallah. If my brother Henry was here, oof. Big time. As for the knowledge of Islam, its result is the everlasting joy of being saved from that fire. The Shaykh, he did something smart. He gave an example. He gave a judgment. First he said, you're obligated to leave wherever you're living, to leave that place. If you don't know the obligatory knowledge and there's no one there to teach you, you're obligated to travel to somewhere where you can learn it, right? So he understands that someone listening might think like, you're saying it's an obligation for me to travel so I can learn the obligatory knowledge of Islam? And so the Shaykh easily answered that question, by saying, of course, Don't people travel far, far away from their house to, work and to make money and to, for what they call a better opportunity and to go to college, right? Isn't that how a lot of people came to this country? Is because they got a scholarship or because they got a job to work. But what's the purpose of that? What's the end goal of getting that job or getting that education in America as opposed to getting it in your own country? What's the goal? Is it to save the world? Is it to better the Muslim nation? Is it to better your hereafter? Is it for your grave? Is it for Judgment Day? No. It's so you can have a mansion, so you can drive a Mercedes, so you can eat good food every day. So if you're willing to sacrifice and pack your bags and buy the ticket and go to the airport and get on the plane and travel, 5,000 miles all the way to another continent so that you can eat good food and so you can have a mansion, so you can drive a Mercedes, then for sure you can do that to learn the obligatory knowledge, which saves you from what? From hellfire. The person who left their country to come to America so that they can have a good dunya life, what are they saving themselves from? Poverty, dirt roads, right? Cows, sheep, camels walking around. That's what they want to save themselves from. Not having a faucet, right? Not having, let's say, hot water coming from the shower. Not having electricity 24 hours. That's what they're saving themselves from. So you put that effort to save yourself from that, which is semi-understandable. But you won't put that effort to save yourself from hell? Hell! You're not going to like hell. If you couldn't handle living in a place that doesn't have hot water coming out of the faucet, if you couldn't handle living in a place that has dirt roads and there's cows and sheep and stuff walking in the road, if you couldn't handle living there, you think you're going to handle hell? You can't handle hell. So you have to put that effort to save yourself from hell. And you have to travel. If you don't know the obligatory knowledge and there's no one to teach you in that place, you have to travel. Allah revealed in the chapter of Al-Imran, verse 185, فَمَنْ زُحْزِحَ عَنِ النَّارِ وَأُدْخِلَ الْجَنَّةَ فَقَدْ فَازَ. This verse means, so whoever is saved from hellfire and gets admitted into paradise without torture, then he has won the ultimate victory. This is the true victor. He is the person who is the true winner. That's the true winner. The one who wins in the hereafter, that's the true winner. Because guess what? That's forever. That's a forever W. That's a forever win. But the one who loses in the hereafter, guess what? That's a forever L. Forever. Hellfire. Forever. As for the secular knowledge that the people pride themselves in, and they work hard to achieve for many years, and their motivation for that is to live the finest lifestyle in this world, then indeed this world that they are living in is fleeting. Fleeting. What does that mean, fleeting? And it means it's leaving. What does that mean, fleeting? That means it's ending. What does that mean, fleeting? That means it's going away, it's temporary. Every moment, every second that passes, you're getting closer to the grave. This person dies at a specified time, and another one dies at a specified time, shorter than him or longer than him. As for the hereafter, it is the abode of permanence. It is the abode of everlasting life. Therefore, the one who takes the provisions that he needs from this world, that is, he learns the knowledge of the religion, the amount that he is obligated to learn, then he implements that. Indeed, he will be among the victors who will have no fear on them, and they will not be sad, not in their graves and not in their hereafters. They will have safety without fear, rest without fatigue, life without death, health without sickness. They will live everlasting lives with no death after it, no sickness in it, no problems and no poverty in it. Allahu Akbar. And who would want other than that? Who would want? It's okay. Who would want other than that? In this life, isn't that what people want? In this life, people want safety without fear. How many people out there living in fear? How many people out there spend thousands of dollars just so that they can feel safe? Subhanallah. But still, they're afraid. They're still afraid, even after they spend all that money. Rest without fatigue. How many of us would like to rest and not feel tired? Or how many of us would like to not feel tired? but we feel tired every day. Life without death. How many of us wish that, for example, this person that we love and care about, that they were still here with us? How many of us wish that? Health without sickness. How many of us wish that our sickness would be cured? How many people that are in the hospital beds wish that they still had their health? How many people do we know that are sick themselves and we care about them? We wish that they had their health. That's in paradise. So doesn't it make sense to work for that? What does that mean? Learn, implement. Learn the obligatory knowledge, implement that knowledge. As for the one who tires himself out and tries to worship God while leaving out learning the knowledge of the religion, neglecting it, then he is like the one gathering wood at night. Like the one who gathers it to take it to his home on a dark night. He gathers it without knowing if there is something that will harm him in what he is carrying, like a snake or scorpion or other than that among the harmful animals of the earth. His example is like the one who gathers wood at night. The Prophet ﷺ warned us against relying on the appearance of deeds without performing them correctly. And so he said in the hadith, this is from the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ, رُبَّ قَائِمٍ لَيْسَ لَهُ مِنْ قِيَامِهِ إِلَّا السَّهْرُ وَرُبَّ صَائِمٍ لَيْسَ لَهُ مِنْ صِيَامِهِ إِلَّا الْجُوعُ وَالْعَطَشُ. Which means many who stand in prayer do not get anything from their standing except fatigue. And many who fast do not get anything from their fast except hunger and thirst. And why did the Prophet ﷺ say that? And he said that to point out this important matter. If you do the worships ignorantly, you are likely doing them invalid because you don't know what are the invalidators, you don't know what are the conditions, you don't know what are the integrals. So that's why the Prophet ﷺ said that. He said, many who stand in prayer, they don't get anything from it except getting tired. What does that mean? That means they don't get reward. That means they're not getting the reward for the prayer. And he said, many who fast, they only get hunger and thirst. What does that mean? They don't get any reward. Why didn't they get reward? Because they did something in an invalid way. Because they didn't have sincerity. Because they didn't fulfill a condition. Because they didn't fulfill an integral. Or because their creed was incorrect. So their worship is not valid to begin with. The Prophet ﷺ only mentioned in this saying these two things with the purpose of giving an example. Otherwise, how many of those who go to the Hajj pilgrimage do not get anything from it except fatigue and spending money? And how many of those who attempt to pay the zakah, their zakah is not accepted because they did not learn the rules of the religion that pertain to the zakah? And Allah Ta'ala knows best. So alhamdulillah, we finished the introduction and we finished the first lesson, and so now we're on page 16, inshallah. And we ask Allah Ta'ala that we are given the ability to be consistent in learning from this book until we finish it. Hopefully, inshallah, whether I'm giving the lesson or somebody else is giving the lesson, hopefully they'll continue with this book in order until it's finished. It's beneficial for the people, it's beneficial for us because there's many details, many interesting details and interesting stories. And there's matters in the creed, there's matters in the Islamic law, there's matters in the history and the biography, the way that the Prophet ﷺ did certain things. It's a very beneficial book. May Allah Ta'ala enable us to learn. If there are no questions, then we'll conclude. طيب نهلل لا إله إلا الله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم ربي اغفر لي وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات وبارك الله فيكم. السلام عليكم.